Welcome to Season 5 of Learning Unlocked. I'm your host, Britt Bingold. As an instructional specialist in Gilbert, Arizona, I'm a total nerd when it comes to classroom strategies and educational pedagogy. Educators are the key holders to unlocking learning for students. Today, my goal is to provide you with resources and tools, the keys, to enable and accelerate learning for all students. Thanks for joining me today. Let's get started. Before we get going today, I just wanted to do a quick reminder that if you have time to rate us and write us a review on Apple Podcasts, we would appreciate it. The more reviews and ratings we get, the more educators will see and hear our podcast. So if you like what you're hearing and you think others would too, please head over and provide us a review. Thanks. Welcome to episode 39 of Learning Unlocked. Today, I'm joined by 3 of our district instructional coaches and Wendy Peterson, who helps support and provides professional growth and coaching training to our coaches. The instructional coach position is relatively new to our district, and we are very excited about the support it provides our teachers and students. Our goals for this episode are to provide a greater understanding of this role and the coaching model we are using in our district, and to discuss how instructional coaches are an essential part of student-centered learning and collective teacher efficacy. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Hello. I am grateful you are able to be on the podcast today. But first, I'm going to go ahead and have each of you introduce yourselves and give a little bit of background for our audience. Tammie, why don't you go first?
My name is Tammie Borden, and I've been in education since about 94. But I was doing adult education for the first 10 years. And with doctors and nurses, teen pregnancy program, and decided that elementary education is where I wanted to be. So the last 18 years or so, I've been in a 5th grade classroom, and same one, same building. And then I decided that coaching was kind of where I was going, is considering that's kind of how it was moving in my building anyway. So this is my 2nd year coaching, and I've been coaching at Burke Elementary for the last 2 years, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Awesome. Yay, thanks.
Hi, I'm Sarah Erhart. This is my 12th year in education. I taught 1st grade for 6 years. My very first year I taught 5th grade. 4 years as an instructional coach at Neely, which I loved every minute of it, and going into classrooms and seeing all the kids. I'm in a new position this year, so I'm the district tag coach. I do traditional, accelerated, and gifted. So I'm super excited to learn this new role and support all the schools within our district. And yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited.
Great.
Awesome. My name is Ian Kelly Harris, and I have been in education for 30 years.
Woo!
I have taught 2nd through 6th grades. I taught the previous ALP gifted class, and as well as English language learner block when that was a thing. And I have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in reading. Currently, I'm the instructional coach at Meridian Elementary, and I've been the coach there for 6 years. This will be my 7th year there. Outside of education, I'm a proud volleyball mom with a collegiate player who we just moved off to Kansas this week.
Hard. That's hard.
That is my passion outside of instructional coaching.
Awesome.
My name is Wendy Peterson. Most of you out there in podcast land are pretty familiar with me. This is my 36th year in education, and I am beyond pleased to work alongside coaches as they become full-time in our district, from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade. So it's very exciting for me.
Yeah, okay. Thank you guys so much. I am so excited about this whole model of instructional coaching. And I think since it's so new to our district, and I don't even really know how many districts do it nationwide, but it's a really new concept even for me. And so I think just to make sure everybody's clear on what it is and what you guys do, I think we should go through the different models of coaching and kind of define those and establish. So there are 3 models of coaching. There's relationship driven, then there's teacher-centered, and then student-centered. Can you guys tell me what are the differences among these three models?
Well, I mean, you can kind of think about them in relationship model is kind of how you treat people. A lot of times teacher-centered is fixing people. And then student-centered is helping them.
Yeah.
Is helping them help students. So it's much more data-driven, hands-on, and really what education is about is that student-centered piece.
And I really feel like student-centered is a partnership between a teacher and the coach. You're working together, you're in there together, you're planning, you're co-teaching. So I think student-centered coaching is the best way of coaching.
Because you're working together with the teacher for the students, and that seems so natural and obvious.
It's definitely a partnership as opposed to the relationship-driven coaching, where the relationship drives the kind of coaching that you're able to provide to them. Data is rarely used in relationship coaching. You're kind of more of that resource type person who they go to. Usually in relationship coaching, the teacher is not challenged very often in their thinking because it's all about the relationship that the coach has with the teacher. So in student-centered coaching, looking at student work and the data and the standards is really what drives, and the goals that teachers have for students is really what drives the student-centered coaching model. And that's how we can partner with them, with teachers, to best meet the needs of their kids.
Have you guys used any of the other models in the past?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Which ones have you used in the
we've
past?
evolved. So since I'm the oldest and been in education the longest, I will start on this one. We didn't call it a coach, but when I was a coach in Mesa, it was all about relationships. Now, there were some problematic teachers that the administrator asked me to work with, but basically it was about, hi, how are you doing? Here's what I really liked in your classroom. Here's what we might work on if you want to. Good to see you. Bye-bye. I'd leave a piece of candy and I'd be on my way. It was all about relationships. And just like I tell teachers, yes, you have to have positive relationships with students. That is a foundation. That can't be the be all and end all. So relationship-driven coaching, yes, you have to have a good relationship, but if that's where it stops, we're missing the mark.
Because it's just not getting to the students. Okay.
Right.
All right.
And I think with me being a coach for 4 years, I started in the relationships. I was like, oh, I'm going to build relationships. And I kind of just stayed there. Oh, what resources do you need? What can I do to help?
Yeah.
And then my next year I moved into the teacher where I was like, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to see what are they doing. And I didn't love that because I felt like I was being kind of an evaluator. So then Ian and I attended the conference a couple years ago, and that's when I was like, oh yeah, student-centered coaching. That's the best way for coaching. You're focusing on students. It's not all about the teacher. So it's been an evolving door for me, going from one to the next.
Okay.
And we've evolved here in Gilbert. Originally when coaches were hired, they were hired as reading coaches way back when we started Foundations.
True. Yeah.
And that's why we were hired, was as the Foundations, as the reading coach, to make sure that Foundations was being used with fidelity, that the teachers were, following the program, lockstep and whatever. And so we were that teacher-centered coach because that was the role that Gilbert had for us at that time, right? So, we were making sure that everything was being used the way it was supposed to and all of that. But since then, we've definitely evolved into more student-centered. And I think that's kind of where we're going to need to do the most work with our teachers, is getting them to understand that we are not there to be the curriculum police or the evaluator.
For sure, not the evaluator.
That they, that we're there as a partner and that we've moved toward this other model. And so just helping the teachers to understand that we're no longer that teacher-centered coach, of trying to get them to follow the curriculum exactly the way that is. We're now working more on the instruction and what good instruction looks like, and partnering
In
with
all
that.
subjects.
Yes. in
So
all
there's still a
subjects.
misconception. Okay,
Yes.
you're not about foundations, but you're still about reading.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and math and science and
Right.
social studies and physical education and art and music and keep going.
So why are we as GPS, we've evolved, so why do you think the new focus on student-centered coaching, why is that so important? Because it seems like all of you collectively are super excited about this model in comparison to the other models that you have experienced.
Well, it's fundamental to what we believe in.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about connecting with students. It's all about growth. Every student should be able to make growth. And that's why a coach goes in, is to make sure those students are making growth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a student in your classroom that it's a struggle and you've tried this and you've tried that and things are still not, a coach can come in and be another set of eyes, another set of ears, another place to go for knowledge or to find that knowledge for you, or just hands-on be in there and help that student. And that's what Gilbert Public Schools wants to do, is to lead students to do the very best they can do. And that's what student-centered coaching is kind of all about.
Okay.
I also feel like student-centered coaching kind of takes the pressure off teachers. They want you to come in and see how their students are learning. You want to work together, and there's not that, oh, they're going to evaluate or watch me and judge me. So you're focusing on the students all together, and it makes them feel more welcome into their classrooms.
I think also when we moved to the data team process of PLCs and looking at student work and determining instructional strategies, and then, unwrapping standards, all of those kinds of things. The student-centered coaching cycle falls
Just makes
right
sense.
along with that.
Okay.
It's the same. The cycles, I know we'll talk about that later, but the cycles are exactly the same as what the data team cycle is. And so they just go hand in hand.
Yeah, so it just made logical sense with where the district is moving as a whole too.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So we talked a lot about teachers and the teachers feeling pressure with other coaches coming in, or maybe they're feeling like anxiety about that. So with this model, why is this something that teachers should want to participate in? Like, why should teachers get excited about having an instructional coach on their campus?
Because the focus is on the student.
Okay.
It's not on them.
Right.
It's not on what are you doing, what are you not doing. It's what as a coach, I come in and I see what is happening with your students, and then how can I help? Because there's 25, 30 sometimes of them in a classroom, and there's only one teacher standing there.
Right.
Why wouldn't you want somebody else to come in and assist you with your students and what they're doing and how they can excel?
One of the things that, as I've had the pleasure to work with the coaches we've talked about, is that everybody needs a coach. And so when we've talked about Meryl Streep has an acting coach. Now, she would be one of the last people who would need an acting coach, right?
Yeah.
But it's about her performance. It's not because she's a bad actor. She's really good, and we've got to make her better for this particular performance. Top athletes, people that go to the Super Bowl and the Olympics and the World Series, have coaches, the best of the best. So one of the things about this model is that we want to work with the best of the best to make them even better, so that the focus, we've said it 1,000 times, there's an increase in student learning. So this isn't about taking bad people and trying to make them better. It's about taking great people and walking forward with them for students. That's why I think teachers should want the coaches in the classroom. I'm Meryl Streep.
Right.
And I want somebody to make me even more awesome than I already am, so that when people watch my performance, they're with me.
And teaching's a hard job.
right?
Boy, that was an understatement.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And if you have somebody who wants to be in your room
Mhm.
and wants to help to make your work easier or lighter, then why wouldn't you take it?
So they really shouldn't see this as like just another thing on their plate. It really should be taking things off their plate.
Mhm.
Okay, so if I'm a teacher on a campus that I've never had an instructional coach before, and this instructional coach is there, and I'm not really quite sure what they're doing and what I'm supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to work together, what would be the responsibilities of the teacher in this coaching model?
It's definitely a collaboration.
Okay.
So we want to see it as a collaboration, not me as the coach telling you what you should or should not be doing.
Okay.
It's us sitting down together and doing what you would already be doing.
Right.
Looking at student work. You already look at student
Yeah.
work to plan what's going to happen. It's just having another person side by side to bounce ideas off of or talk through maybe a challenge that you have or something that you want to accomplish with your students. So it's doing what you're already doing. It's just having that partner by your side to be another brain in the room, because we know that we can accomplish way more together than we can by ourselves, and that's basically what we do.
I think the best part of student-centered coaching is the co-teaching, because you get to come in and bounce ideas off, like you said, Ian, and maybe something didn't work. You right there, you guys are talking together and you can fix it. Or if something went really well, you go, yeah, we did it. This is amazing.
Yes.
So it's so cool to have another adult in your room and working together,
That's the
collaborating.
key, another adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so cool to have that co-teaching part of it.
Right.
And what a great example of a growth mindset for those students in that room when the teacher is also somebody who is learning,
Right.
who is in there and adapting to things that are going on. They are not perfect. And
For
a lot
sure.
of times that's teachers feel like they need to be perfect, like they're on the stage.
Yeah.
And when they see you, talking to somebody and going, yep, guys, let's just do this.
Well,
Let's change this now.
The coach is
You're
learning
real.
too. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of it. It's like
Exactly.
we're all learning because nobody on this campus,
Right.
from the principal down, can't learn. That's what's so exciting about it. I'm glad you brought that up,
Well, in
Tammie.
every classroom you guys go into have different kids with different needs, with different ages. So, like, really, it is. You are also learning as you go into each single classroom.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
The other thing that I want to say about teachers' responsibilities is teachers really need to be honest with where they are at in their process,
Right.
whatever process that is. They're learning where they are, because if teachers are not honest with with themselves first and then with us, we can't help them move past whatever
Right.
challenges they have. So as hard as it is to be honest, our space is a safe space. I
Yes.
say that a million times to my teachers. Our place is a safe space. So if you need to just cry on my shoulder and just, whatever that might be, it's okay. But if you're not honest with yourself and with us, it's going to be more challenging for
Yeah.
us to move forward. And it's not about you; it's about your kids. So we want the best for those kids, and that's kind of step one. And that's probably one of the hardest things, I think, for all of us to is to be able to
Yes.
see where we're at in our own process.
And it's a new group of kids every year. You
sure.
are a different teacher every year. So sometimes there's years where you got it all together and that's, everything's flowing. And then the next year turns you upside down. And so if you
Absolutely.
have somebody in your building that you can turn to who knows your Meryl Streep,
Right.
then you can then ask for that assistance with, hey, this is a different group.
Well, and the reality is that all of us have had times, whether it was at the beginning of our career or with particular classes, where things have not gone well. Literally just today, a Facebook memory came up. It happened to be my last year in the classroom. I had a classroom with all boys and one girl, and they were so difficult for me. I was no longer the coach, but they were so difficult for me that I invited our coach in Now, I've been the coach at my school for 10 years, but I thought I'd forgotten how to teach or something. And I had the coach come in to watch me, like, what am I missing? What am I forgetting?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a whole different group of kids than I'd ever had before. So we've all made mistakes, and we all have situations where we can use another set of eyes and ears.
So I think what I'm hearing is really the teacher's only responsibilities are to have some self-compassion, right?
Absolutely.
And then have that humility and vulnerability when you do come in. Those are two huge and hard things to do for anyone, and I think especially teachers, because like you said, you really want to have it all together. We all do think a lot of times when you walk into a lesson, this is how this is going to go. It's going to go great. And it's real hard when you hit that wall and it doesn't go well. And so I think, as a profession, having some self-compassion and having those moments of vulnerability not only will help them in their day-to-day, but will also help them when you guys come in, is what I'm hearing.
Well, and as I work with the coaches, we've been working with new coaches, particularly the last few weeks, and we're talking about trust. What you need to do to gain and then keep the trust of the people on your campus, and it means keeping confidentiality. It means having compassion. It means being willing to just listen, like I was saying about come cry on my shoulder. Mm-hmm. If the coach on your campus doesn't have the trust of people, it's not going to work. I can tell you that getting to know all of these coaches, that they have that. They want to be the person that you can come to and say, boy, I don't know what happened, but I did not rock on that lesson.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
And even as coaches, we don't know everything.
Right.
And
oh boy.
there's been times in my coaching past that I've gone into a classroom when we had a different model, and I've modeled what it should look like, and it's gone horribly wrong. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, but it's true. We don't know everything either. And that's why it's that partnership, and we're learning together, and we're figuring it out together. And the awesome thing is when you're co-teaching with that teacher and things are going horribly wrong, you can look at the other person and go, oh my goodness, this is not going right, or this is not going the way we expected it to go. What do you think we should do next? And it's working together in real time to say, okay, what is our next move going to be? And then trying to figure that out. And hopefully the next time something in the classroom goes just the way that it was going on that day, the teachers can remember, okay, what did we do that in that moment to change the direction of this lesson? Oh, we did that, or we didn't do that, or whatever it is. And then they can continue to move forward. And it's okay to have those learning moments together, partnering side by side with the coach, because we can have the great conversation to design a great lesson, but sometimes even with the best instructional strategies, something could go wrong.
Well, you're working with human beings who are unpredictable,
right?
And
for
so
sure, you don't ever know. So it's great to have that real time professional learning, that you're learning and having the conversation. I think Sarah mentioned that before. In the moment.
Yeah, and when we know as students, in the moment feedback is the highest form of feedback. So it's the same with adults. I mean, when you get that immediate feedback, no matter who you are, it sticks in your memory because it's right then and it's tangible. You can see it, you can feel it. You're like, yes, this is what I need. So you guys have been talking a lot about co-teaching or going in and talking with coaches. Can you explain a little bit more to me about like the coaching cycle? What is a coaching cycle?
Well, they're very much like a PLC in a way, in that it's a step-by-step process. It's the ability to kind of work through the planning that a teacher normally does, starting with that data, pre-assessments, you talk about what your students need, what's a goal that you have for that student that's standards based, and then you just, plan from there and end up with some sort of assessment, formative or summative, that you can then say how you did and where we need to go from here.
And then do it all over again.
Exactly.
Thus the name cycle.
Exactly.
I got it.
Yeah.
So it typically lasts about 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes it coincides with the unit,
Yes.
and then usually about weekly they plan for 30 to 45 minutes. So you have that plan in place with the teacher. You plan with the teacher, so it's not just the teacher. You're collaborating. And then
it's not one or the other. The teacher's not just planning the lesson, or the coach is not planning the lesson.
Right.
They're sitting side by side, planning, designing lessons together.
And then they get to come in and co-teach at least 1 to 3 times a week usually.
So is it always one-on-one, or do you work with PLCs as well?
Well, I actually recommend that they work with PLCs. I'm not the police on coaching. I just think that you get more bang for your buck.
Okay.
So, let's pull the 5th grade team together. Let's look at this unit. Let's look at our data, and then work in concert for the benefit of what would be probably 150 students and 3 or 4 teachers instead of just one teacher in his or her class.
Right.
So I recommend it. I also am a big believer in PLCs and all that brain power working together, like we were talking about earlier, so important. That is not required, however.
Right.
But I think that there's some real power that we want to leverage that can be done best with a PLC.
Well, in our district, we have Wednesday early release days for PLC time. Is that when you guys would typically meet with a certain subject area or a certain grade level, or are you floating around, or what happens on those days?
I think that's just a natural place and time to do a coaching cycle, because that is what the teachers, the teams are doing anyway on that Wednesday. They're going through
their data cycles.
The data cycle, which is exactly what a coaching cycle looks like, just, with that coach added to the equation. So that is one great opportunity that coaches have. Unfortunately, everybody has PLC at the exact same time.
Yes. That's I'm like, are you floating around? How are you doing this? There's one of you. Yeah.
So that does make it challenging if there are multiple PLCs that want the support.
Right.
And I think it could be done in multiple of ways.
Okay. But if it's 4 to 6 weeks, you said?
Yes, usually.
So you could, if you worked with one PLC for 4 to 6 weeks, you try to get to another maybe. What's the mini coaching cycles? What happens in a mini cycle?
Well, it's pretty much the same. It's a smaller scale. It may be a smaller goal.
Okay.
Your goal may not be as extensive, so you don't need nearly as much time. So it's not a full unit you want to go over. Maybe it's just a particular piece of it.
Okay.
You're going over a 3rd grade standard, and you want to hit what main idea is, but you don't want to go into details.
Okay.
So you're just doing a piece of it, and then you can just spend 2 to 3 weeks on something like that, or even a week, depending on what it is.
And a mini cycle can also focus on a behavioral goal. When we do a full coaching cycle, it needs to be standards based. But if the teacher is having some routine or procedure or issues, then a mini cycle, we don't want to spend 4 to 6 weeks on
like a management.
Management.
Right.
We want to get to instruction and standards.
Okay.
But if you wanted to work with a teacher for a week or two to, help get some structures in place. So
classroom routines.
Yes, absolutely. Also with a mini cycle, it almost always is a one-on-one situation. There's no rule about that, but it just makes more sense that it is.
Because they might have specific issue based on whatever's happening in their classroom.
Sorry, go ahead. I think that also it can be a certain strategy maybe that the teacher wants to try for the first time. So, maybe they're wanting to try a jigsaw in their classroom
Right.
with something and they're a little nervous about that, or they're not sure exactly how to set that up, right? So we can do the mini cycle with them, meet with them, come up with their goals, come up with their teacher goals, plan that lesson, implement the lesson, and then basically reflect on how did that lesson go, and then come up with ideas for next time they're going to try a jigsaw. So it doesn't have to necessarily.
And coaching them up on like, hey, you can do jigsaw multiple times.
Correct.
Yes.
Like, what would it look like if you tried it this way?
This way and this way. So
Yeah.
the kids get used to a strategy and get really, really good at it. I think a lot of times teachers like to hop from strategy to strategy to strategy sometimes. And just, you can help support them and say, just because you did it once, it's not like a one and done.
Right.
And help them through that.
What better way to try a new strategy than to have that other person in the classroom
absolutely.
at the
I would love that. It's
at
like
the
almost
same
like having like a
time,
nice
right?
little, like a
Right.
parachute.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
I like that. We're going to be the
Analogy, that's
parachutes.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Just
Nice.
pull if I need it. Like,
Right?
Yeah, there you go.
I'm falling. Here we go.
Right.
Okay, cool. So it can be like a little bit of like a specific target or a topic. It could be behavioral. It could be strategy based for the mini cycle. Anything else that a mini coaching cycle could include?
The cool thing about mini cycle too is if a teacher's a little nervous about doing maybe a full cycle,
Yes.
this is a great way to get started with
Oh,
coaching. Have
awesome.
them come in, do the strategy, get them feeling comfortable with having a coach, because I know it's kind of scary at first to have a coach and another person in your room. So to have that ability to do just a mini cycle is awesome.
It's a great way to build relationships with the teacher, the coach and the teacher to work together.
And also, but way to build relationships with those students as
Too.
well.
Right, like, who
before
are you?
come
Why are
in
you here?
for 4 weeks and a whole
Mhm.
entire unit. It's a great opportunity for you to get to know the kids as well.
That's so true. I remember anytime if anybody came into my classroom, the kids were like, who is that? And it was like this, big deal until they were there for a while. And I'm like, just move on. Okay, awesome. Well, you guys sound like you have a real big job.
A little bit. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whoo, I'm tired just listening to you. So what else do you do? What else is part of a coach's job?
We have
There's-
lots.
Yeah.
I
Lots
know.
of other duties as required.
Or what does it say in
As
their contract?
assigned.
It's
Yeah.
other duties as assigned. The
Yeah,
other
there
day I
you
was
go.
moving boxes and I'm like, this must be it. This must be what they meant by other duties as
Right.
assigned.
Yeah.
So what are some of the main things that you guys also can assist with and coach and help with on campuses?
We do a lot of PD on our campus based on our CIP and our PLP and all of those
What
wonderful
are those?
acronyms.
Because we have listeners who are not from Gilbert Public Schools.
Okay.
We have
So-
listeners in other countries, actually.
We have listeners, right.
So-
So tell us what those
CIP stands for.
Continuous Improvement Plan.
So
Okay.
every school, everywhere in the entire world has some kind of CIP.
Right.
It's just in other places it's LSJ or SPQ or
I
whatever.
like you to make up names.
Right?
Yes.
I
Right.
will. That's what I'll do later today.
Yes.
Make up names. Okay,
Mhm.
great. What was the other one?
PLP,
PLP. What's that?
Professional Learning Plan,
Yes.
based on
The
your Continuous Improvement Plan,
There we go.
your CIP.
Yes. There's a lot. But
There is.
they all should work in conjunction
Right,
together.
Right.
And they all are now based off of our instructional framework,
Correct.
which we rolled out for our listeners in season 4. We went through the instructional framework and all the domains and things like that. So you guys do professional growth on your campuses based on the CIP goals and as part of the professional learning plan.
Correct.
So what would be an example though of something you would do based on a CIP for professional growth on your campus for your teachers?
It could be data analysis as well.
Okay.
So if we have a particular goal and that goal is to be, at 75% for a particular standard or for testing, for ELA, for math, whatever that happens to be, you could be doing some data analysis for each one of those classrooms and then be able to then go in and coach based off of what you found for that data. So maybe it's helping with interventions and creating interventions or helping a teacher with their intervention process so that the needs are met for those students who aren't necessarily meeting that goal.
Well, and in my work with new coaches this last week, you, Britt, and Julia Salzi came in and worked with those folks on clarity maps. And the coaches who were sitting here with me today learned about that last year. And so it could be that they are running an hour and a half training on let's write a clarity map. Let's bring a standard that you will be teaching soon. Let's work on that together. It could be anything that their principal tells them to teach about.
It could be literacy. It could
Right,
be,
where you're like, oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can whip something up for that anytime.
right.
It could be something that a coach sees on campus during walks around, like, oh, you know what, I think we might need to shore up, and then fill in the blank, and maybe they teach 20 or 30 minutes
Nice.
just to bring that to the forefront. The options actually aren't endless.
Well, and it sounds like such a great resource because you're really the eyes and the ears on the ground all the time on that campus.
Yes.
And so for you to be able to pick up on things and say, okay, I think this would be a great mini PD or an hour on a half day training that will still support our goals. But what I still love that I keep hearing over and over again is it really is, how do we get it down to the kids?
Right.
Correct.
Right? How do we get it to students?
Absolutely.
And
So-
another part of PDs is coaches going to PDs.
Yeah.
So they have the after school ones, and then last year we had lunch and learns where we brought our lunch and we learned a different strategy, and then we were able to bring it back to those campuses. So it's so important that coaches are still learning too, and bringing in those
Absolutely.
awesome
One of the
strategies.
quotes that's in the coach's handbook, and I've used it over and over, is when the teachers stop learning, so do the students.
Yeah.
So let's put coaches in there. When the coaches stop learning, so do the teachers.
Right.
And so if any of us has the mindset that I've got this, I know it all,
Oh, no.
I don't need to learn anymore, we have a really big problem. The good news is I don't work with coaches who are like that. Everybody's like, yes, I want to
Yeah.
learn more.
They're so fun to train.
Which they are so fun to train. Just one, yes.
As a trainer, who trains the coaches?
Yes.
I think they're so fun to train.
They are.
So, okay, you guys have a lot of responsibilities. In our district, we really have taken the time, and it's in the coach's handbook, to really delineate what is the coach's job, but also what is not. And so what is not in this coaching, student-centered coaching model, not really a part of the coach's position.
It's really hard because we work in schools.
Yep.
And everything is about student learning.
Right.
And being a coach is all about
Student learning.
So it's hard to say there's nothing that you really shouldn't be doing, because if it impacts a student's learning, then you can be called on to do that.
Right.
And should feel like you do. But if it's something that's taking you away from being able to do coaching cycles,
Right.
and being there for all students,
Mm-hmm.
then I think that's when it's not part of your
Quote
responsibility.
unquote position.
Right.
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 I think that's a great way to say it. If it doesn't fall under what our purpose on campus is, as far as the student learning and growing, then that would be something that would not be a part of that job.
Well, and the coaches want to be team players on their campuses. So they want to have bus duty or playground duty or, substitute if there's an emergency. On the other hand, if those things become their jobs, then there's an issue.
Because they can't effectively do
Correct.
the instructional coaching
so
cycles.
Definitely they want to be part of the campus, but we have to be very careful that they don't become either an administrator, as another administrator on campus, an assistant principal, a dean. We have to be careful that they don't appear in an evaluator role.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
that
Or
would hurt the
in
trust
a-
of the teacher.
In a
So-
role like a paraprofessional where they can go lots of different places and fill in. And so, but we've worked really hard on that, and I think that is
coming
improving.
through.
Yes. As we learn more about the student-centered coaching model, I think we'll see less and less
Yeah.
of using coaches in odd and miscellaneous ways.
I like odd and miscellaneous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so you all attended a conference with Diane Sweeney.
Woohoo!
She's the creator. She's the creator of the student-centered coaching model, and she's authored several books on coaching. What was your primary takeaway from that conference? What can you tell us?
Oh my gosh.
It seems like it was.
Wow.
I'm jealous. I want to go this
There's
year.
so much to talk about.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, everyone needs a coach. We already talked about that. That was definitely one of the takeaways that I had. And then also, we're not here to fix anyone. That's not our job. We're not here to fix teachers.
Say it again and say it louder.
We're not here to fix anyone.
Great. Yeah.
Fix teachers.
I think
we
that's
don't
so
want
important for people to hear and understand. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not fixers. We are partners.
Yeah.
We are partners in learning
Mhm.
for teachers and for students. And we have the same goals that the teachers have for their kids. We
Mhm.
just want what's best for kids, and we want what's best for teachers. And so I think that was, for me, one of the biggest takeaways.
I was lucky enough to go 2 times.
Oh.
I learned so much even the second time. And one of my favorite things about it is it's like a small conference.
Yes.
So you get to talk to Diane like she's one of your friends.
Oh, it's
and
so
like,
exciting.
you
I
ask
love that.
questions and you go in the breakout sessions and you feel like you're like one of 10. So you can
Right.
ask these
Wow.
questions of any
Yeah.
confusions you have. And it was just such a cool experience. And my takeaway from this last time I went was the strength-based feedback. So when we're talking to teachers, you want to really get to understand. You want to clarify what they need. So having those steps of clarifying with the teachers, what do you need? What do you need help with? Getting that understanding, and then bringing in that positivity. Well, I saw when I was in your classroom, I saw you doing this. That was great. And talking about that positive, and then uncovering the possibilities of what can we do together to even just push it just a little bit more with them.
Build on that positive.
I think I got the fact that she pointed out that coaching matters, and why it matters is because every student deserves to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And why wouldn't you have all possible advantages
Right.
available? If every student deserves to learn, then they deserve to have a coach there for their teacher to be able to provide as much as possible. So she just made me feel like it mattered. It wasn't just something that it would be
Extra.
nice to have. That it really matters. All teachers should be able to have a coach. And she just made you feel like, as a coach coming into this conference, that what you were doing mattered
Mm-hmm.
to students, not teachers, although it does, but it matters for students, because that's what everybody goes into education for.
Well, and we've seen education just shift a lot from siloed. I go in my room, I teach. There were no common formative assessments. There were no common summative assessments. We just
My first 3 years teaching,
Lived
I was in a
life.
room far, far away from the office. I could have, and I did train my students really well. I could have not showed up probably for days, and no one would have even known. My kids would have come in, done what they were supposed to do, and I didn't talk to anybody. I mean, I had people who knew I was out there alone and came out and said, "How about we have lunch together and talk about how it's going so far?" But that was not in a plan.
Right.
That was just other good
Were you on
teachers.
a portable on the kindergarten playground?
Kind
That's
of,
where I was.
yes,
My first one. Yeah.
Basically, yes. I also want to say that when I went to the conference, one of the main reasons I went, and these people don't know this, was to ascertain who this Diane Sweeney was. I liked her books. I'd heard Ian and Sarah say, "Oh, she's great." And they kind of were fangirls about her. I thought, I got to see who
Pictures and
this.
everything.
I know. I got to see who this is. And what I discovered was that she genuinely cares about student learning.
Yes.
That came through so strongly. And yes, like Sarah said, small conference.
Right.
I felt like she knew who we were, not necessarily by name, but she knew who we were. And that's powerful. And that's a powerful example for us. So I came away going, yeah, I already knew the ideas were good, but this person is the real deal, and she wants what we want.
Right.
I want to get to go again. It will bother me a lot if Sarah has gone twice, but I haven't. I'm crossing my fingers.
Well, and I think if she's modeling for you all that you matter, at that it really is important, because with the PLC process coming in maybe 10 years ago now,
yeah,
where it used to just
more
be,
than that.
was it more than that?
I don't know here in Gilbert, but I was in Mason
Yeah.
and participate multiple years before I came
But
over
I felt
here.
like it was like we got in and you just planned.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like you just
Yep.
Like a
didn't.
team meeting.
Right, yeah, like
very
a team,
much.
it's like a team meeting. And not that that wasn't productive, it was.
Well, it was better than it had been.
Right.
Correct.
You went from kind of siloed to like, now we're kind of on the same page and we kind of have the same assessments, but then it was like, yes, now we all do have the same assessments. And now there's like, hey, by the way, you got to meet with data now with these PLCs.
Right.
So as teachers have like seen this evolve, it's a lot. Teaching's a little different.
It's a lot
It's a lot
different.
different.
It's a lot different. And so to have you there during this change and flux and this focus on data, but data because we want to help kids and we want to help students, like you said, it is a really important job. And I think if Sweeney was conveying that to you, and clearly it's come from you guys to your teachers on campuses, I really do think that really does help. If I were a teacher and I was trying to collect all this data all the time and figure out how to grow my students, but also teach my lessons and know the curriculum and I would like be raising my hand, like, please help, please come.
And that's who we need to work with. Those teachers who are out there going, yay, come
Yeah.
help me. I'm a good teacher and I want to do
And I
even
want to do
better.
this well for my students. Yeah. I think I interrupted someone.
Oh, I was just gonna say the added bonus was that it snowed, so we got
Oh.
to see snow. And
Okay, no, that
Okay,
was just
that was
weird.
not.
It was 89 on Thursday afternoon. And I was hot. And then the next day it snowed.
I remember you sending us a video
Of the
of
snow?
the snow, and I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
it's snowing?
Yeah.
What is happening?
In
It's
May.
May.
In
it
May.
is in May. Yes.
Yeah,
Very
it was in May.
confused. But I really
Well,
want
and I
to
would
go.
like to publicly thank Tammie's husband for getting us to and from.
Yes, he was drove.
He was
So
like
we
our-
drove home in it. So
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
unreal.
So he had his vehicle there, and he got Suzanne Lunt and me over to the conference and back from the conference, so we didn't have to get an
Go through
Uber
the
or walk
snow.
in the snow because no.
That's
It's no.
No.
It's not
with
I
Arizona girls, we don't do
No,
snow.
I'm fourth generation. I like snow if I'm in a cabin with lots of food and lots of books and lots of firewood.
Got it.
Good.
All right. So to wrap this up, what are you guys most looking forward to with this implementation of the students that are coaching this year, especially because we've added coaches for every campus this year?
Which is super exciting.
Yeah.
I'm
How many
super
coaches is
excited.
that total, Miss Wendy?
You didn't tell me you were going to ask a math question. Hold on, is that here? Well, so we have
Give me a
37
ballpark, yeah.
elementaries. It's probably about, because some have more, some haven't hired anybody yet. It's about 45.
It's a lot.
That's exciting.
It's a great. It's
Yeah.
really
It's
exciting.
great,
So, what are you guys each individually looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to being part of my school's individual classes formative assessment process
Okay. Yeah.
and being able to see student growth. So being able to be in a classroom, see where they start, see how they're learning, and then see the end product. You know,
Yeah.
after being in the classroom for so long, you know, that's what you always got to see. And then
Mm-hmm.
being out now these 2 years, I'm very excited to really go back and look for those particular things that I always, you know, loved to do when I was in the classroom, and being able to do that with a partner, you know,
Yeah.
being able to carry that couch, you know, with
Yeah.
somebody, share the load,
Yes.
and be able to celebrate those accomplishments with my school.
Yeah, it's always great to celebrate student growth, but you're always like, "Yay, me!" And, you know, like,
Okay.
and it's just by yourself. So
Yeah.
having somebody to do that with would be really fun.
Yeah.
And
You think, Sarah?
my role's a little bit different because I'm a district coach.
Right.
So I'm excited to support the site-based coaches. I mean, I already reached out to Ian, and we're going to work together and talk to some of her accelerated teachers. So I'm excited to see the student-centered coaching on campuses and support those individual coaches. And also, I hope to do some mini cycles as a district coach. Come in and work with my special programs and work with those teachers and see that growth myself.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And get to hop from the different campuses too, which will be nice.
It would be awesome. I'm
Be
so
a
excited.
bird's eye view in kind of a little bit. So that'd be great. Ian?
For me, it was similar to Tammie's. I just seeing that growth of students and teachers, and then seeing how what you do alongside the teachers carries over into other things. And there's nothing better for a coach than when you've either taught a professional development class or something on campus, or worked side by side with a teacher, and then you see them implementing those things down the line. They're not just implementing it
And then leaving or whatever.
right?
Yeah.
They're implementing those things down the line, and you know that has significantly impacted students and their learning. So I get goosebumps talking about it.
I know, I get a little jealous.
I get,
When you get to be a Wendy Peterson and you go into a classroom and they go, look, I'm doing this, I'm using the cards, I'm doing it, you know.
It's exciting.
It's super exciting to see those things, because it just like our students, it's not that they've just learned it for the test, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's that they've actually internalized what it is that we're working toward, and that just, it impacts that teacher for the rest of their career and then the students for the rest of their lives as well. So for me, I kind of get choked up when I talk about it, because that's the most exciting thing about a coach.
It's like seeing those light bulbs above your students' heads, but magnified.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great way to put it.
All right. If listeners want to learn more about student-centered coaching, which is what we're focusing on, where should they look?
Diane's books are the best.
You think the Diane Sweeney book?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And her website is just chock full of stuff.
Yeah.
But I would like to encourage every person who's listening to this podcast, whether they're in Gilbert or out there, wherever, if there's a coach on your campus, go by to see them, find them, stop by their office and say, hey, I've been thinking about you and I'm so glad you're here and we have a coach. Again, here in Gilbert, do that. But wherever you are, I'm guessing there's some kind of coach, either on your campus or in your district. Let them know that you appreciate them and that you would love, love, love to work with them.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Diane Sweeney, if you're a Facebook person, has a Facebook page.
Oh, yeah.
She has a Twitter. She has an
Oh,
Instagram.
yeah.
So all of those places are great informal places to go and get information.
And peruse and just kind of see what's out there.
She's very transparent with her resources.
Her resources, there's so many downloadable resources on her website. It's amazing.
Yeah. Everything's straightforward too.
And if your district doesn't have coaches, then maybe you become the advocate by learning about student-centered coaching and then talking to people. We never thought we would have full-time coaches K-12 in Gilbert, and yet here we are!
And we're really excited about it. So, well, thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast today and talking about this. I really was excited to have you guys on, since it is just full scope now in our district and it's this position. And just to kind of clarify, what is this role and what are we doing here and how exciting it is. So I really appreciate you guys coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Learning Unlocked and finding out more about instructional coaches. If you have listened today as a GPS educator, you can receive PD recertification credit by visiting our Employee Hub page and navigating to the Professional Growth and Development page. Just as a reminder that we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GPS Prof Growth. That's at GPS PROF GROWTH. For more information or resources from this episode, please visit our website at learningunlocked.libsyn.com/website. We are distributed by Libsyn to Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Audible. Episodes are also available on our PGD YouTube channel under playlists. Our intro and outro music are licensed from Melody Loops. Thanks again, key holders. Keep unlocking curiosity, creativity, and innovation with your students. Stay kind and courageous, and I'll see you next time.